the two techs I want to get. First, I want to get space exploration. I don't particularly need this one, but we get some ladders, I guess. I'm mainly interested in advanced exploration, where we get this mobile processing lab, which will help us get a lot more science. Don't think there's anything else I particularly want. I guess we could get advanced construction for docking ports. Because this mobile processing lab, I'll probably send some Kerbins up into orbit for a while. But before I do that, I probably want to make a relay network around Kerbin. Looks like I can finally get this piece of junk out of Kerbin orbit. Because if you remember, this doesn't have any reaction wheels, so I can't move. But I'm sort of facing retrograde. And this introductory network is giving me a bounce. So I think if we max throttle, yup, we'll be able to crash down into Kerbin. Nice. So that'll be one less piece of junk floating in the sky. This debris, unfortunately, I cannot get out of the sky, so we might have to do a cleanup mission eventually. But glad I can at least get this piece of junk out of orbit. This is the vessel for our Kerbin relay network. So we have 3 identical probes in this fairing, and we have a Mark 1 command pod just to make this easier because, again, we don't have a relay network set up, so we're not guaranteed to have connection during all of this. This stage has a fuel tank and a Terrier liquid fuel engine. And then this is the main booster stage to get us into orbit. So I think I'll describe more of how to set up this network, or how I'm going to set it up, when we are actually in orbit. Now we have a relatively circular orbit around Kerbin. Our inclination is 2.1 degrees. I don't really like that. So let's wait for apoapsis here and try and make our inclination 0. Okay, so that burn will make our orbit perfectly flat along Kerbin. Perfect. So now our inclination is 0 degrees. Now's a good time to start talking about how we're going to set up this network. So here I have a relatively circular orbit at 1,300,000 meters. So this will actually be the final orbit of my probes. But in order to set them in a triangular formation, I need to make an orbit that has a period, which you can see here, that is 1/3 higher than this. So this website is pretty helpful. So it kind of just spits out the numbers here. So my final orbit is going to have a period of 3 hours and 16 minutes. And its apoapsis is going to be 2.1 million meters. So this orange line is what I currently have. So that's going to be what my probes will be orbiting. And this green line is what I want my, spacecraft to be. So I'm going to put this on the side of my screen here so I can read this apoapsis. So I've put those calculations on the side of my screen here so I can read what I need to do. So let's save the game. So my periapsis is going to stay the exact same. But we want to burn prograde until my apoapsis is 2.118 million meters. So doesn't have to be exact, but I'd like to get it as close as possible. So what did I say? 2.118. 2.118. 2.118489. 2.11848. That's perfect. Okay. And here, if we check our maneuver, my period is 3 hours, 19 minutes. The calculator says 3 hours and 16 minutes. So let's tune this down a little bit. Okay, now it's saying 16 minutes. That's weird. So 2.118489. Beautiful. Let's save before we activate this maneuver. Let's angle our ship to the maneuver node, and let's wait. Start the burn. Again, we're looking for 3 hours and 16 minutes. Okay, 3 hours, 16 minutes, 13.2 seconds. We went a little bit further. 3 hours, 16 minutes, 13.2 seconds. Oh, gotta go a little bit the other way now. Can change the thrust limiter on our engine to make this a little bit easier. Really fine adjustments here. So 13.2 seconds. Let's just call it 13. Perfect. And my apoapsis is 2.118. Needs to be 4.8, but it's 6.8. I think that's good enough. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe just a hair lower. let's go a little bit the other way, and then I'll call it probably. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Man, I'm not good at this, huh? Let's lower the thrust limiter even more. Oh, there we go. Perfect. 2:118.48. 3 hours, 16 minutes, 13-second period. So this is what is called the resonant orbit. So basically what's going to happen is every time we reach our periapsis, we are going to release a probe and burn retrograde until the orbit is circular. So, before we do that, we want to obviously extend the solar panels and relay dishes. Again, I'm not really sure the best thing to do for this is, I think we'll just set both of these to Kerbin. So that's this cone of 90 degrees is what this probe covers. So you can see that it will definitely be able to see throughout Kerbin. And I think in order to make these a usable network, I think we need to set one of these to active vessel. So now this is on Kerbin. This is on the active vessel. So we have one of them who's going to look towards Kerbin, try and get connection to the KSC, and the other dish is going to point away and look for whatever vessel we're flying to give it connection. So now let us warp to our periapsis. Again, there isn't really a rush in any of this because, I mean, we're in a stable orbit. So what I want to do is, what I'm noticing is we do not have a connection to the KSC at our periapsis. So I think we're going to wait a little bit until we have the KSC at our periapsis to drop the probe. This looks like maybe next orbit it'll be like perfectly there. There we go. Beautiful. So let's save and let us control our vessel from the Probodyne QEE. So we control from here. And let's wait till we are at our periapsis. Then our goal when we're at periapsis is to get an orbital period of 2 hours, 27 minutes, 10 seconds, and obviously have a circularized orbit. Again, let's make sure we save so we don't mess anything up here. Okay, so we are at our periapsis in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I want to stage our engines. Let's just touch off a little bit here. And we did not put RCS on our probes, but we should be fine to burn retrograde until our period is 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 9 seconds. 2 hours, 27 minutes, 9 seconds. Okay. So, kind of messed up by not putting RCS thrusters on these, but it should be fine. So now if we time warp, you will see what I'm talking about. Now we can switch back to our network ship. Go ahead and extend these solar panels on the second relay here. Set the target to active vessel. Let's set the target to Kerbin. Now if we time warp, you can see that when we are releasing this probe, the other one is 1/3 the way through its orbit. So, because I did not put RCS thrusters or reaction wheels, kind of just have to point. You kind of just have to point retrograde and hope for the best. Again, 2 hours, 27 minutes, 10 seconds. Beautiful. So now our orbit is almost perfectly lined up with this relay, but we are 1/3 the way behind. So now I wonder if this relay, it does have connection. Look at that. So this is bouncing here. This is focused on Kerbin and active vessel. And that actually has connection. Nice. So I have noticed that I did not set up the decouplers right. So this decoupler doesn't get rid of this fairing. And I don't see a way for me to get rid of the satellite. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to perform the burn, and then we'll have to do a rescue mission to go up and rescue Jebediah out of this vessel, because this setup's pretty perfect. I don't really feel like redoing it. I'd rather just send up a vessel. Plus I need to learn how to rendezvous anyway. Plus it'll be entertaining, so I think we're just going to leave him up here. So I guess we will set our thrust limiter really low and just conduct the final. Again, our period's 2:27:10. Perfect. So, sorry Jebediah, but you are going to be up here for a while. But here is our network. It's pretty satisfying, so we can turn off those angle indicators now. And these should just continuously rotate, so we can focus on our other probe to better visualize what's happening here. So here we're connected to the KSC, now we're connected to this relay, then the KSC, And as we turn around, you can see the connections. Oh. Oh. Yeah, so here we're bouncing there, back to the KSC. So yeah, it's just super satisfying, I think, just to look at, you know, the lines kind of bouncing. And again, I mean, my measurements probably weren't perfect, but it would probably take years for this to never have full coverage, because the minimum that you need is 600,000, and you know, ours is at almost double that. So again, I left myself some wiggle room. So now that we have full connection, we can finally deorbit this rocket. Because this was just the introductory network, so don't really need it anymore. Just burn retrograde and... Oh, it's actually out of fuel. What? Oh, I'd have to stage. I don't know if I want junk in the sky, though. But also, I don't want this probe in the sky. Oh, yes. Okay. Nice. We did it. So now we can warp to our apoapsis and get this thing out of orbit. Hopefully. Nice. Nice.